The One by John Mars. In a world revolutionized by science, finding true love is as simple as a mouth swab. Match Your DNA, a company founded on the discovery that every person shares a specific gene with only one other individual on Earth, promises genetically guaranteed soulmates. Millions have submitted their DNA, hoping to find their perfect match. The service has brought immense happiness to many, but has also shattered existing relationships, leaving heartbreak and controversy in its wake. This is the story of 5 individuals whose lives are about to be irrevocably changed when they receive their match notifications. Mandy, a 37-year-old divorcee, still nursing the wounds of a failed marriage and lost pregnancies, works a mundane office job. Her life feels stagnant, especially compared to her 3 younger sisters, all happily settled with their own DNA matches. One afternoon, she discovers an email from Match Your DNA languishing in her spam folder. She has a match. His name is Richard Taylor. Mandy immediately looks him up online and is captivated by the photograph of a handsome, athletic man in his late 20s, a personal trainer living about 40 miles away. She spends hours scrolling through his social media, learning about his travels and life, imagining their future together, even though their interests seem disparate. Despite Richard having consented to his details being shared, weeks pass and he doesn't contact her. Mandy, adhering to traditional dating norms, waits for him to make the first move, her anticipation growing daily. Christopher, a meticulously organized and emotionless man in his early 30s, leads a chilling double life. By night, he is a serial killer, methodically targeting and murdering young women he finds through dating apps. He views his killings as a project, taking Polaroid photos of his victims and leaving cryptic stencils near their homes. While disposing of his 6th victim, he receives his own Match Your DNA notification. Intrigued, he notes the name, Amy Brookbanks, female, 31, London, but files it away, his current deadly pursuits taking precedence. He continues his grim work, selecting his 7th victim based on her predictable routine and proximity, ensuring his methods leave no trace. Curiosity eventually gets the better of him, and he decides to contact Amy, seeing the potential relationship as an amusing cover for his real activities. Jade, a young woman working a dead-end hotel reception job in Sunderland, feels trapped and resentful after financial pressures forced her back home post-university, while her friends travel the world. Her only solace is her 7-month-long communication with her match, Kevin, who lives on a farm in Australia. She treasures the few photos he sent of a handsome, blonde, muscular man and cherishes their text and phone conversations, convinced he's perfect for her, despite the distance, and his apparent lack of modern technology like Skype. Persuaded by her work colleagues, Shauna and Lucy, that she shouldn't let fear or finances hold her back from true love, Jade impulsively books a flight to Australia, sublets her flat, and sets off to surprise Kevin, lying to him about being temporarily unreachable. Nick, in his late 20s, is happily engaged to Sally, 5 years his senior. They share a comfortable life in Birmingham, and Nick feels secure in their relationship. However, Sally, influenced by their matched friends, Samira and Deepak, develops anxiety about whether she and Nick are truly soulmates, especially given her parents' history of multiple failed marriages. Despite Nick's initial resistance, he agrees to take the Match Your DNA test with Sally to reassure her. They agree to open their results together. Sally receives hers first. No match. A heavy silence falls. Nick insists their love is enough, but Sally tearfully admits she needed the certainty. Reluctantly, Nick lets Sally open his email. Over. The result is shocking. Nick's designated match is a man named Alexander living in Birmingham. Ellie Stanford, though she uses her mother's maiden name, Ailing, for the test, is the formidable, incredibly wealthy, and intensely private founder and CEO of Match Your DNA. Haunted by past media intrusions into her love life, she's fiercely protective of her privacy and immersed in her work, running her global empire from her office high in London's Shard. Late one night, she receives her match notification. Timothy Hunt, 38, a systems analyst from Leighton Buzzard. Despite her initial disbelief and wariness, a flicker of curiosity prompts her to pay for his details. She tasks her efficient PA, Ula, with discreetly gathering information on him, including photographs. Mandy grows frustrated by Richard's silence. Deciding to take the initiative, she sends him a carefully crafted email with a flattering photo. When days pass with no response, she returns to his Facebook page only to find condolence messages. Richard has died, struck by a hit-and-run driver weeks earlier, shortly after she received her match notification. Devastated, Mandy grieves for the man she never met and the future they lost. Desperate to know more, she gatecrashes his memorial service. There, she impulsively lies about having known Richard during his travels in Australia, only to be caught out by his sister, Chloe, who reveals she was with Richard throughout his Australian trip. Cornered, Mandy confesses the truth. She was his DNA match. Understanding dawns on Chloe, who offers comfort and invites Mandy to meet their mother, Patricia, Pat, sometime later. Mandy leaves, feeling a strange connection despite the sorrow. Christopher arranges to meet his match, Amy. He deliberately arrives late to establish control. Amy, an attractive woman with dark hair and glasses, initially appears nervous but defensive. Christopher finds himself intrigued. During their date, Amy reveals she is a detective sergeant in the Metropolitan Police, currently seconded to the fraud squad. This unexpected twist excites Christopher rather than alarming him. He probes her about the ongoing serial killer investigation, his own case, but she remains cagey due to press leaks. He attempts to charm her with rehearsed lines about soulmates. But Amy cuts through the pretense, stating the match means they don't need games, and bluntly expresses her immediate, intense physical attraction to him. Taken aback, but aroused by her directness, Christopher agrees, and they leave for her house. Jade arrives at the Williamson farm in Echuca, full of nervous excitement. She texts Kevin her location, and he immediately calls, sounding curt, telling her she shouldn't have come, before hanging up. Confused and hurt, Jade drives away, then turns back, furious, convinced he's hiding something, perhaps a wife. Marching to the farmhouse door, she's met not by Kevin, but by another handsome blonde man. He introduces himself as Mark, Kevin's brother. Jade demands to see Kevin, accusing Mark of lying. Kevin then appears from another room. Jade is shocked. The man before her is gaunt, almost bald, pale, and attached to a portable drip. This is not the man from the photos. Kevin explains he has terminal stage 4 lymphoma, diagnosed before they were matched. He apologizes for not telling her, admitting the photos were old and his contact with her was a selfish escape. He gives her the option to leave. Jade, reeling but compassionate, decides to stay and get to know him. Nick is stunned by his result. Sally initially jokes about him being gay or bisexual, but Nick vehemently denies it, worried it invalidates their relationship. Sally insists on finding out more about Alexander. She pays for his details. Alexander Landers Carmichael, 32, physiotherapist, dark hair, grey eyes, similar height to her. They find his profile picture on Facebook. He's undeniably handsome, but his privacy settings prevent further viewing. The revelation leaves Nick deeply unsettled. Sally, trying to process her own disappointment, pushes Nick to meet Alexander for her peace of mind, fearing Nick will always wonder. Nick reluctantly agrees, booking a physio appointment under a fake name, David Smith, for a non-existent neck injury. He meets Alex at his clinic, one-to-one physio. Alex is indeed good-looking, friendly, and confirms he's from New Zealand, has a British girlfriend, and plans to return home soon due to his father's ill health. During the physical assessment, Nick feels no sexual attraction. Relieved, he prepares to leave, convinced the DNA test is flawed. However, as he glances back at Alex from the reception, their eyes meet, and an intense, inexplicable connection sparks between them. A powerful, mutual jolt that leaves both men bewildered and shaken. Nick hurries away, shaken, lies to Sally that it was fine, but Alex isn't his type, while knowing deep down something profound has happened. Ellie researches her match, Tim Hunt, via her PA Ula's extensive and dubiously obtained background check. Tim appears average, steady job history in computing, typical male internet habits, football, YouTube, some porn. Likes mainstream music and films, financially stable, no apparent partner or children, minimal social media presence. Ellie texts him using a burner phone. They exchange witty messages and she agrees to meet him. For their first date, Ellie dresses down and meets Tim at a country pub near his home in Leighton Buzzard. Tim is endearingly anxious, wearing a suit he bought for the occasion, forgetting to remove the tag, and brings her wilting flowers. He confesses his nerves and his fear of messing things up, charmed by her despite his perceived lack of sophistication compared to city types. Ellie finds his honesty refreshing and admits she enjoyed their pub date more than any fancy London outing. They talk easily for hours, sharing bad date stories and differing opinions. Ellie maintains her lie about being a PA. As the evening ends, Tim kisses her, and Ellie feels an unexpected surge of warmth and connection. Mandy becomes increasingly close to Richard's mother, Pat, and sister, Chloe. Pat shares stories about Richard's childhood, his battle with testicular cancer as a teen, and his adventurous spirit. Mandy feels a deepening connection to the man she never met, mourning their lost future. During one visit, Pat reveals that Richard, concerned about potential infertility from his cancer treatment, had banked his sperm years ago. Pat suggests Mandy could still have Richard's child via IVF, fulfilling both Mandy's desire for a family and Richard's supposed wish. Mandy is stunned, but deeply tempted. Back at work, a condescending comment from her young manager, Charlie, about her age and lack of family pushes Mandy over the edge. She negotiates a redundancy package, quits her job, and calls Pat, accepting the offer to carry Richard's baby. Christopher finds juggling his relationship with Amy and his killing project increasingly difficult. Amy often stays over, limiting his time for surveillance and murder. He resorts to drugging her occasionally to facilitate his nighttime activities. Despite the complications, he finds himself developing genuine feelings for Amy, something unprecedented for him. He feels protective and doesn't fantasize about killing her. He continues his murders, targeting number 13, the waitress from his and Amy's date, deliberately making the kill messier and more brutal after number 9 fought back. Amy, disturbed by the escalating violence in the cheese wire strangler case, Christopher's moniker, unknown to him, discusses the details with Christopher, unaware she's confiding in the killer himself. He revels in the irony and the proximity to the investigation. Jade settles into life on the farm, helping Kevin's kind parents, Dan and Susan, while caring for Kevin as his health rapidly declines. Susan tearfully thanks Jade, believing her connection with Kevin gave him a reason to live longer. Jade grapples with her guilt. She cares deeply for Kevin as a friend, but the romantic spark of a match isn't there. She finds herself increasingly drawn to Mark, Kevin's brother, noticing his awkwardness around her and interpreting it as reciprocated, albeit inappropriate, attraction. Kevin proposes to Jade with a ring. Knowing it will make him happy in his final days, Jade accepts, burying her conflicted feelings and her burgeoning attraction to Mark. Nick struggles to reconcile his feelings for Alex with his commitment to Sally. He confides in Deepak, admitting the powerful connection he felt with Alex. Deepak reveals he and Sumaira aren't matched either, but lied about it. Nick meets Alex secretly several times. Their bond deepens, though they avoid discussing their partners or Alex's impending departure to New Zealand. Nick attends one of Alex's rugby games unannounced, leading to another clandestine meeting. Sally, sensing Nick's distance, arranges a surprise trip to Bruges to reconnect. Despite a passionate trip, Nick remains tormented. At another dinner party with Sumaira and Deepak, a drunken Nick confronts them about faking their match status, describing the intense feeling of meeting Alex in a way that reveals his own experience. You and him. Sally realizes the depth of Nick's feelings. Later, heartbroken but pragmatic, Sally tells Nick she can't compete with genetics and that he should be with Alex. Ellie and Tim's relationship blossoms. Tim is kind, funny, and seemingly unfazed by her wealth once she reveals her true identity. Ellie finds herself falling in love, letting her guard down, enjoying a more normal life at Tim's home, though shadowed by her security team. Tim proposes with a handmade book detailing reasons he loves her. Ellie joyfully accepts. They keep the engagement secret to avoid media frenzy. However, lingering doubts about Tim surface. Ellie recalls her head of personnel, Kat, mentioning interviewing Tim under the name Matthew for a job months before they were matched. Ellie investigates. She discovers Tim's real name is Matthew Ward. His mother, Samantha, worked for her years ago during the initial DNA research phase, and that footage from his supposed job interview shows him deliberately mouthing, "Hello, Ellie," into a security camera. She realizes Tim Matthew has orchestrated their entire relationship. Mandy undergoes IVF using Richard's banked sperm and becomes pregnant. Thrilled but anxious after past miscarriages, she moves in with Pat full-time, relying on her and Chloe for support while cutting ties with her own bewildered family. She immerses herself in Richard's life, sleeping in his room, cherishing his belongings. Curiosity leads her to Richard's old phone, where she finds explicit photos of him and an ex-girlfriend, Michelle. Jealousy mixes with a need to understand Richard as a partner, prompting Mandy to contact Michelle. They meet, and Michelle shatters Mandy's idealized image. Richard was non-committal, likely unfaithful, disliked children, and was adamant against taking the DNA test. Most disturbingly, Michelle reveals Pat and Chloe had obsessively pressured her to carry Richard's baby first, offering money and lodging, only stopping when Michelle threatened police involvement. The final, devastating blow comes when Michelle reveals Richard isn't dead. He survived the accident, but is severely brain damaged and living in a nursing home. Christopher kills his 25th victim. The routine is becoming taxing, his relationship with Amy a constant distraction. He contemplates stopping before reaching his target of 30. While returning to leave a photo on victim number 27, Dominica Bosco, he is horrified to find a tiny, lifeless fetus lying between her legs, a rare post-mortem coffin birth. For the first time, Christopher feels empathy, imagining if it were Amy and their child. He gently places the fetus in its mother's arms, and tears, his DNA, fall onto the bodies. He later confirms Dominica was pregnant, something he missed due to his complacency. The incident deeply affects him, solidifying his desire to finish his project and fully commit to a normal life with Amy. Jade marries Kevin in a small, poignant ceremony at the local church. Mark acts as best man. Jade struggles to maintain composure, acutely aware of her feelings for Mark and the lie she's living. Kevin's health fails rapidly after the wedding. Jade cares for him devotedly alongside his family. Kevin dies peacefully weeks later, Jade holding his hand. At the funeral on the farm, Jade feels Mark's intense gaze. That night, unable to deny their connection any longer, Jade goes to Mark's room. They make love passionately. Jade begs Mark to leave the farm with her, to explore their relationship. Mark refuses, torn by guilt and loyalty to his family and Kevin's memory. As Jade leaves his room, heartbroken and angry, they are confronted by a shocked and furious Susan, who has witnessed their embrace. Nick is devastated by Sally's sudden death during childbirth from a brain aneurysm. Their baby boy survives the emergency C-section. Nick is shocked to see the baby has dark skin, clearly not his biologically. Suspecting the truth, he confronts Deepak, who confesses. He and Sally thought they were matches, likely a mismatch from the scandal, had an affair, and the baby Dylan is his. Deepak, wanting to save his marriage to Samira, who is horrified, relinquishes all claim to Dylan. Nick, despite the betrayal and heartbreak, feels an overwhelming love for the baby and commits to raising him as his own. He cancels his plans to go to New Zealand with Alex, sending Alex a letter explaining his decision, breaking both their hearts. Alex leaves for New Zealand alone. Ellie prepares to confront Matthew, Tim. Before she can, he is waiting for her in her office. He drops all pretense, revealing his elaborate plan. His mother, Samantha, was ruined emotionally and financially after her husband, Matthew's father, left her for his match, whose DNA Ellie had likely borrowed without consent. Samantha died tragically, housefire while drunk. Matthew blames Ellie entirely. He reveals he hacked her systems, faking their match as revenge, but also, more devastatingly, creating approximately 2 million mismatches worldwide over the past 18 months to destroy her company's credibility. As Matthew gloats, predicting her ruin, Ellie snaps. She strikes him with a heavy crystal decanter, then hits him again, killing him. The entire confrontation, including the murder, has been secretly live-streamed by Matthew to Ellie's employees and multiple online platforms. Realizing she's exposed, Ellie calmly prepares for her arrest, instructing Ula to contact her lawyers and, cryptically, to press the button if she's found guilty, implying perhaps the release of damaging information or the self-destruction of Match Your DNA. Mandy, piecing together Pat and Chloe's deception, visits Richard in the nursing home. He is unresponsive, in a vegetative state. She holds his hand, tells him about their baby, and pours out her heart. As she does, Richard's body jolts, his eyes flicker. A reaction the doctor dismisses as reflex, not conscious awareness, though acknowledges the potential power of a match connection, especially involving offspring hormones. Devastated but resolute, Mandy prepares to leave Pat's house for good. Pat and Chloe intercept her. Mandy confronts them about lying about Richard's death and faking his DNA test submission. An argument ensues on the stairs. Pat grabs Mandy, causing her to fall and hit her head, rendering her unconscious. Mandy wakes in hospital weeks later, having given birth prematurely via C-section to a healthy boy, Thomas. She learns Pat and Chloe, claiming to be family, have taken the baby and disappeared. Mandy remembers the photo of the family cottage in the Lake District. She alerts Lorraine. Police raid the cottage, arresting Chloe. Pat has barricaded herself in the bathroom with Thomas. Mandy speaks to Pat, who reveals she took the baby to Richard's bedside, hoping the child would miraculously wake him. Realizing it failed, Pat overdoses, intending to take Thomas with her. Police break down the door, just in time, saving Thomas and arresting Pat. Mandy is finally reunited with her son. Later, visiting Richard again with baby Thomas, she places the baby's hand in Richard's. Richard's fingers slowly, purposefully, close around his son's hand. Christopher, caught by Amy before killing number 30, is tied to a chair. Amy confronts him, revealing she knows everything: the photo album, the burner phones, the DNA from his tears on Dominica's baby. Christopher confesses his motives, his target of 30 kills, and admits Amy changed him, made him want to be better, confessing his love. Amy, momentarily swayed, almost unlocks his handcuffs. However, news breaks on the TV about the Match Your DNA scandal. Millions of mismatches. The revelation casts doubt on their own match. Amy realizes Christopher's love wasn't enough to stop him killing, and his psychopathy means he could relapse. Seeing no future and wanting to protect others, and perhaps herself, Amy takes Christopher's cheese wire and strangles him. She meticulously cleans the scene, sets Christopher's body on fire outside, and leaves, planning to erase all evidence connecting them. She resolves to suggest the police nickname him the Saint Christopher Killer, fulfilling his twisted desire for a moniker. Jade, after Susan urges her to forgive Mark and embrace happiness, reconciles with Mark. They decide to travel Australia together in Kevin's truck, acknowledging their complicated past, but choosing to build a future based on their genuine match. Nick, months later, having embraced fatherhood, flies to Hastings, New Zealand, with baby Dylan. He finds Alex working in a shop. Alex is stunned to see him, especially with a baby. Nick explains Dylan is part of the package, and if Alex will have them, they're there to stay. Alex's tearful, joyous embrace signifies acceptance. Ellie stands trial for Matthew's murder. Despite public opinion swaying towards viewing her as a victim of manipulation, the future of Match Your DNA hangs in the balance due to the mismatch scandal. As the jury returns with its verdict, Ellie remains composed, her fate and the fate of her controversial creation uncertain. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next book.